Hi, welcome to my December wrap up. I know it's a little bit later, like it's the middle of January right now, but we're just keeping the Christmas vibes going. I actually have this candle that has like candy canes on it. I thought that was really cute. I set a TBR of, I think, 4 books. I'll put them up here. And I did not get to Bride. I was going to read it, but then I wanted to get to my reading goal and I decided to pick up like really short books so that I could finish more books. And then I didn't even end up getting to my reading goal because I wanted to read 90 books. Actually, my reading goal was 60 and I did get to that, so that's nice. But then I had so much more that I was like, maybe I can get to 90. And I ended up getting to 89. So close. But I will be talking about the 90th book. That didn't count, but I had like 50 pages left that I finished in the new year. So I'm just going to count it for my December books. Not on Fable and Goodreads. I put it this year, but I'm going to talk about it now. Let's start off with one of the really short books that I read. 2 Scoops of Hellfire by Kimberly Lemming. She's like one of my favorite authors. But I read this book and it's like, can you even say it's a book? It's 21 pages. That's not a lot. But I really enjoyed it. I will say it's just mainly spice. And in her other books, there's usually like a little bit of a build up or you get to know the characters a little bit. With this one, it's like you're 2 pages in and the spice is starting already. I did give it 4.5 stars. Usually I give her books 5 stars, but I felt like this was a little bit like rushed into it. And I mean, the spice was spicy, but there wasn't like a lot of other elements to it. And that's what I would have liked if there was a little bit more to it. I'm not going to talk too much about it because like it's 20 pages, so everything I say will give something away. I would go for one of her other books unless you really want to get to your like reading goal and you want a short book, then this is fun. Next we have Road Trip with a Vampire. I talked a lot about this in my November wrap up because I was almost finished. I finished it this month. It's about this vampire who has amnesia and he is called Peter. And it's also about this witch called Zelda. They go on a road trip together and he's gonna try and find like his past, trying to find out who he is. And she's trying to manage her powers and deal with how she can kind of hide her powers but still use them. Their connection is just really nice. What I did find a bit annoying is like the pop culture references. Chappell Roan get mentioned so much. Well, not so much, like 3 times, but it annoyed me. I'm escaping reality. Why are you mentioning things that are real? I don't like that. But I gave this 4.25, 4.5 stars. I definitely recommend the whole series. It's interconnected, so you can just read this one, but the characters from the other books are mentioned because this is the 3rd in the series. So I would just start with the first one because the first and the second one were really fun as well. Oh, and there is a bit of spice in here. I keep forgetting that. There is, but that's not the main part of the book. And like, I read books like Kimberly Lemming's books, and they're just every chapter is spice, and this one is like a few chapters, I think. But it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend this whole series. Then next up, we have 2 really short books. So let's start with Sherlock Holmes and the Duke's Son. I thought this was quite fun to read about because I have seen some Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch, I think that's his name. And I always really liked those. I thought it was really fun reading about it, but it wasn't that special. I mean, what was funny was that Sherlock actually didn't see the plot coming, or he didn't figure it out that well. And it's in Watson's narrative, this book, so that's kind of fun. I don't know, I did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, but wouldn't necessarily recommend, but it was fun and it's really short. And then next I also read The Phantom of the Opera, and I thought this was really interesting. I didn't actually know the story of this, and I feel like maybe it's common knowledge and like a lot of people already know the premise of the story and like the plotline and everything, but I'm still not going to give it away because I didn't know, and that's what made it more fun for me to read. Near the end, I did feel pity for like the ghost, But also then I realized, like, no, he's done some messed up things. Like, I don't need to pity him. I do think this is a fun book to get to. Or I keep saying fun. Is it fun? I don't know. Apparently, because I keep saying it. No, I just think it's interesting and I really enjoyed reading it. Again, I'm sorry I'm not saying that much, but it's like such a short book that I feel like if I say anything. Oh, I can actually say there's this theater, this opera house, and there are actors. Do you call them actors? Singers and theater people? I don't know. But there's this story going around that there's this ghost, and you need to give him a good seed, and you need to give him money because otherwise he gets mad. There's like all these rumors going around, but not everybody believes them, and it's just really fun to figure out like what's real and what isn't. And I thought it was really interesting and a fun read. Okay, next up we have The Seed Keeper, and I actually listened to the audiobook and I also talked about it with my book club on Fable. It was a very important story to read, and it's about the Dakota women history and how they kind of pass on their wisdom to future generations. It was kind of heartbreaking at times. It's a very emotional and immersive read, and it's mainly about Rosalie, but there are other women mentioned in other chapters. You know, not all the chapters are about Rosalie, but some are about other women. For example, one of her friends, a few chapters are in her narrative. There is one chapter, I feel like it was chapter 19, I don't remember exactly, but there was one chapter that I didn't really understand who the chapter was about, but this woman was giving a speech and I got goosebumps. I was like, wow, this is so powerful and so good that she like stands up for herself and she says the things that need to be said, that need to be understood by other people. And I don't know, I got goosebumps. I thought it was really like an impactful speech that she gave, but I didn't know who she was. But that could just be my fault that I didn't realize that it's like the end of someone, or I don't know. But yeah, Rosalie has had a very tough like childhood. Things happened that made her need to go into foster care, and that was really rough on her because she kind of lost her heritage, or like who she was, her identity. And then she had to work on a farm. She married this man who wasn't Native American, so it was kind of a mixed couple. And then you can see the struggles in that because they both have different views on how to raise their child. But this man is just pushing his ideas and she kind of lets it happen. And that's so sad to read about how she struggles with wanting to raise her kid with her own heritage and her own like beliefs, but her husband is just overpowering her and saying like, no, he needs to believe this and he needs to be raised like this. And that was kind of shitty to read about. It is real, and it's very, very sad that that happens. It's just a very beautiful but impactful story. I would definitely recommend people to read it. I will say I started reading the ebook and I couldn't really get through it. But then when I listened to the audiobook, I was invested in it and I was very interested. So I don't know if I necessarily like the writing style, but as an audiobook, I thought it was really great. And also, I feel like the characters were very realistic. Nobody was perfect. Everybody had their own struggles, and it wasn't like somebody was super evil. I don't know. It was just very realistic and very well thought out. I gave it 4.25 stars, 4.5 stars. And then another book I read is Milk and Honey. This is actually a book that has a bunch of a bunch of poems in it. And I will say I related to some of them more than others. I feel like some subjects were mentioned a lot, and maybe I shouldn't have read this within a month, but like within a year, because reading it within a month, I just thought like, yeah, she just wrote a poem that has like the exact same meaning to it. Maybe I just didn't understand. That's very possible as well. But I felt like some of the things were a bit repetitive, but it's not like the exact same words were used, but it like had the same meaning to it. I did think like some of them were really good, so I can read some to you. And you can skip to this timestamp if you don't want to hear me reading the poems. If you're just not interested in that, you can skip this part. I'm not going to read like the whole book or anything, but just a few. From The Loving. Love will come, and when love comes, love will hold you. Love will call your name, and you will melt. Sometimes, though, love will hurt you, but love will never mean to. Love will play no games, 'cause love knows life has been hard enough already. Okay, so again, this was of the chapter The Loving. You talk too much, he whispers into my ear. I can think of better ways to use that mouth. Okay, I guess that's like spicy romantic, but I also feel like just let the girl talk. If she wants to chat, like let the girl chat. I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood, but I did not like that. The Healing. My issue with what they consider beautiful is their concept of beauty centers around excluding people. I find hair beautiful when a woman wears it like a garden on her skin. That is the definition of beauty. Big hooked noses pointing upward to the sky like they're rising to the occasion. Skin the color of earth, my ancestors planted crops on to feed a lineage of women with thighs thick as tree trunks. Eyes like almonds, deeply hooded with conviction, the rivers of Punjab flow through my bloodstream, so don't tell me my women aren't as beautiful as the ones in your country. I thought that was very powerful. I want to apologize to all the women I have called pretty, before I've called them intelligent or brave. I am sorry I made it sound as though something as simple as what you're born with is the most you have to be proud of, when your spirit has crushed mountains. From now on, I will say things like, you are resilient or you are extraordinary, not because I don't think you're pretty, but because you are so much more than that. Your art is not about how many people like your work. Your art is about if your heart likes your work, if your soul likes your work. It's about how honest you are with yourself, and you must never trade honesty for relatability. I might not have read that the way it was supposed to be read, but I thought those were like some really powerful poems, and I feel like some of these poems I really related to, and I always like reading poetry. I gave this book 4.5 stars. Now I have two books left, and those are the kind of Christmas books that I read this month. So first up we have Good Spirits. I read this book together with 3 book clubs, so it's kind of fun to have a lot of people's opinions on it. There is this ghost called Nolan. He's the ghost of Christmas past. And then he comes to Harriet's house, and they're going to go back in time and look at her life back then and kind of see like what happened, what made her a bad person, and what does she need to change to be able to move on. As they go to her past, they're kind of realizing together that she's not a bad person at all. You can just see that she had like a really rough upbringing. Her parents just were not nice at all. And her sister, I think, was also not a nice person. And it was just so sad to see like her past and how her parents wouldn't allow her to be a child. That's kind of when Nolan starts to think like, why am I sent to her to help her or to make her realize stuff about her past, but she didn't do anything wrong. So that's kind of when you start thinking like, what is this? What's going on? Obviously, there's kind of a romance that ensues. And I will say there are some spicy chapters, but I personally didn't think it was that spicy. And I feel like it was kind of easily skippable, but I liked it and I wouldn't skip it myself, but you can. It was a very fun book and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a nice Christmas read, but the ending, you need to not take it too seriously. You need to not think about the logistics or like try to figure out like how would this actually work, whatever. Nah, just don't think about that. Let it go, and then it's fun and it's great. But if you think about it too much, it doesn't really make sense. I gave this book 4.25 stars, and by the way, it's in like 2 narratives. I would definitely recommend it, but obviously it's just been Christmas, but you can put it on your TBR for next year because it was really good. Then next up, we have another Christmas book. It's called The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year, and you have Maggie and Ethan that are the main characters. It is a dual point of view, but like Maggie has more chapters, but Ethan does have a few, and like more near the end. But anyway, it was a really fun book, and it's kind of a okay. No, let me start with explaining. They're both writers, and they're invited for Christmas to this house of this famous author, and then things happen, and there's kind of a murder mystery that needs to be solved, and they take it upon themselves to solve it. And while doing that, they are also obviously together a lot, and that kind of blooms into something. I will say, oh, it is mentioned so often that he's so hot and he's so, oh, look at his eyes and look at his smile and oh, he's all that leather jacket. Oh, it's so pretty. Like, okay, girl, we get it. You think he's hot. Like, move on. I don't know. It's just that was annoying. But other than that, that was the only thing that annoyed me. Other than that, this book was really, really great. And that like the plot of the murder mystery, I didn't see it coming. I like everything that happened. A lot of like little clues get left behind, and then they try to solve it. I didn't see any of it coming. Maybe I'm just really bad at it, but I didn't see it coming, and I thought it was very, very fun. And I feel like this is such a good Christmas book because it's different than all the others. Most Christmas books have the same storyline, you know, oh, they make cookies and they make hot chocolate and there's a snowstorm and whatever. It's just always pretty similar. And this, with the murder mystery element to it, that made it so much more fun. And I definitely recommend you to read this one. I gave it 4 stars because I was going to give it 4.5 stars, but because it did count for my January books in Fable and Goodreads, I didn't want to start off already giving a 4.5. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, it's good. It really is. But I was annoyed with how hot he is, like, gets mentioned. And I don't know, I could have given it 4.5, but I was like, I need to be a little bit more serious about my ratings this year. And I feel like a 4 is a very good, like that's great. That's a great book, you know? So yeah, 4 stars. So those are the books that I read in December, and it was 8 books, and the average was a rating of 4 stars. So that's pretty high. And I just want to thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe if you want to see me more often. And yeah, that would really make my day. And if you want to leave a comment, then maybe you can tell me what your favorite book was of 2025. And maybe I can like take some recommendations from it. Or let me know like your favorite Christmas book, because I don't have anything planned for next year or this year. Oh, but I really like Christmas books to read, you know, during December. But so many of them are pretty similar. So if you have like a great recommendation, please leave it down below so we can all put it on our TBR for next year. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye!